In this example, we're going to recap how to use linear interpolation to estimate the median. Let's start by looking at this grouped frequency table. Here we have information about the spends between 0 and 10, 10 and 20, and 20 and £30 of several people. If we were asked to find the median class of this data, we could do this quite simply. To find the median class, we would use our formula to find the correct position, n plus 1 over 2. N in this question is how many people's money or how many people's spending was counted. To do that, I need to find the sum of my Greek symbol sigma, f, the total frequency. So if I add 4 and 8 and 3, I get 15. Putting that into my formula, 15 plus 1 over 2 means my median is the 8th position. Looking at the data on the table and by using a cumulative frequency, I can see that the first 4 people's money is between 0 and £10. Adding on 8 to that takes me to 12, and adding on the final 3 is 15. So the 8th position, or the 8th person represented on this table, is somewhere between 5 and 12, and they are in the 10 to £20 category. So my median class is 10 to £20. If I'm then asked to estimate the median from that category, I need to look at something called interpolation. We'll start by looking at how we would do this on a cumulative frequency graph. Here we have a cumulative frequency graph that I'm very quickly going to complete with our data. Just a reminder that when we are completing a cumulative frequency graph, we plot the upper bound against the cumulative frequency, and that was 4, 12 and 15. So my upper bound is £10 on 4, is £20 on 12, and is £30 on 15. As the lowest spend was £0, I can also plot 0, 0 on this graph and join them up with a smooth curve. To estimate my median, I would find the halfway point. So again, I would use the sum of f as 15, and for my median, I would use n plus 1 over 2, which we've already calculated is 8, and I would go along here, and when I hit the curve, I would come down and read off the money, which looks to be just under £15. So I'm going to say £14.80, just under the halfway mark. And that would be my estimate of the median from a cumulative frequency graph. So what we're going to look at is using the same logic to find an estimate from the median without having to draw out the cumulative frequency graph. So if we go back to our table where we have our median class, we've already established that our median is somewhere between 10 and 20. We know it is in that category. We also know that we have 8 people in that category. And thinking about how we estimated the median from the cumulative frequency graph, if I just flick back to this slide here, when we worked out, or when we drew our data, we made an assumption as we went from 10 to 20 pounds that the data was evenly spread between 10 and 20 pounds for the people, or the 8 people in that category. So we need to do the same thing with our numbers. We know that we have £10 in between 10 and 20. That is the class width, and that is £10 wide. So I'm going to share that £10 out equally between the 8 people that spent in between 10 and 20 pounds. And if I do that, I get the answer £1.25. That £1.25 tells me how much more each person spent than the person before if it was equally spread out. So this £1.25 tells me each person in the 10 to 20 pound category, or the 10 to 20 pound class, spent £1.25 more than the last. Now this is an assumption if it's equally spread, just like on my cumulative frequency graph. So looking at my cumulative frequency information, I know that the first 4 people spent between 10 and 20 pounds. And then the next 8 people spent between 10 and 20, which is what I'm looking at. So that means person 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12 all spent between 10 and 20 pounds. I also know that when I plot a cumulative frequency graph, I always plot the upper bound with the cumulative frequency for that category. So I know if I was to plot this on a graph, that person 12 here would be plotted at £20. I'm then going to use this black writing to help me find out what my median person would get, which is the 8th position. So if I've worked out that each person in the category gets £1.25 or spends £1.25 more than the last, I'm going to use that to work backwards. So if person 12 got £20, person 11 got £1.25 less. So they got £18.75. Person 10 got £1.25 less again. They spent £17.50. Person 9 spent £1.25 less again, so they spent £16.25. And person 8, my median, spent £15. So my estimate for the median, which is what this question is asking for, is £15. And if I look at my cumulative frequency graph, I can have a look how close my answer was. And I can see that I thought it was just under £15 on my cumulative frequency graph. And actually, using interpolation is more accurate. So my interpolation suggests that the estimate for the median for this question is £15.